So again, I'm very happy that we're able to do this here in the museum. This is a rare occasion to be able to use this room this way. And one of the things to note here is that next year, 2023, this will be the 200th anniversary of this house. It was built in 1823, so there'll be more on that later. So, as far as everything else, like I say, welcome, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this. It's fantastic. And now I'm going to turn it over to Donna for a few minutes, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Benny. Every time we have programs like this or programs over the barn, it's always so neat because it's like a party for 30 of our best friends or 50 of our best friends. Everybody knows everybody. And after our programs, people don't leave. They all stand around and talk, and I'm like, I'm flipping the lights. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here because I'm tired.
So in other words, when we're done, get out of here.
No problem. I'm Donna Meyer. Most of you know me. I'm the executive director here at the Historical Society. I just want to make a comment about this beautiful piano. About 2.5, 3 years ago, I got a phone call from a woman named Nancy Ferguson. And she had been the mayor of New Albany for many years. She was downsizing, and she says, I have this piano. We get a lot of offers of pianos. Pianos, it seems like that's one of the things that people want to donate. And so she wanted to know if we wanted it. So I talked to Benny, talked to a few other people, and she sent pictures. And when she sent pictures, we're like, this is such a beautiful piece. And it fits perfectly in here because it predates the Civil War. We have had it tuned. Mary Alice Dillman over here, who will be performing for you. She is a guardian, and she adopted the piano, which means she doesn't get to take it home. I'm sure she's got a piano at the house, but she provides the funds that we need to have it tuned. We just had it tuned a few days ago, so we appreciate all of our guardians. And this is all life members. So I'm really pleased that we could have this event for life members. That's one of the things that you guys get if you do sign up to be a life member, is special invitations to these types of things. So thank you very much for being here. We truly appreciate your support. And I'm going to let Benny introduce David.
We want to get somebody over to occupy that chair before we...
Are you using that, Brad?
No.
Well, I don't know where Susan is.
I'm right here. I'm just going to stand. Thanks, Mom.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, well, our first performance is going to be by somebody that you probably know maybe as Judge Himanowski, but you can see in the program that he's involved in the community in a lot of other ways as well, but as well as being our Historical Society's president too. So I have not figured out, as many people, how he ends up doing all this, but he does somehow. And so I'm very proud to introduce David Hejmanowski.
Thank you. As I said earlier, guys, please clap before I play. I've got 5 selections for you, and I have chosen them because I want to showcase this instrument. And before I play, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this instrument. So it was built in the late 1840s. The exact date is not known, but in Boston, Massachusetts. Pianos in that era would largely have been grand pianos. Of course, a grand piano's strings run front to back, lengthwise, away from the keys. And each key lines up with a string or set of strings when you get to the lower keys. And you press the key, and the hammer lifts and strikes the key and makes a noise. Later on, of course, so that folks could have pianos in their home, we came to have upright or spinet pianos, where the keys are arranged this way, up and down. But again, lengthwise with the keyboard. These keys are set up in such a way that the strings run across, left to right, across the piano. And so if you have, we'll open the case after the music is done, so you can come up and take a look. But we were noting after the 2 o'clock performance today that these strings very much look like a harp. Like someone took a very small harp and laid it down on its side inside. The way that hammers work so that they can reach each of those, because of course it's not just that the keys line up with the strings are all running this way. So the strings are all the way across the piano. The way the hammers line up is that there is an arc of space cut out in the frame inside, and the hammers vary in length. So the lower key hammers are very short, and they get longer and longer and longer so that they go up the arc along to strike the strings, hitting them along an arc as they come across the piano. So you'll get a chance to see that on the inside when you're done, when we're done. A brief note, as Benny said a moment ago, piano playing is not my career. I noted earlier that while I've occasionally accompanied folks or done other things, provided background music, I don't think I've performed a recital type setting where people were just sitting listening to me play since middle school. And I thought I was nervous about it, and that turned out to be true when I started playing 2 hours ago. And my hands were shaking up here. This keyboard is also fairly small. You'll see if you take a look at it. It is only 75 keys. I talked about at 2 o'clock that I was looking at a Gershwin prelude to play potentially, but that Gershwin prelude uses the lowest B flat on the piano, and that key doesn't exist on this keyboard. It also requires you to play and then punch that key with a closed fist, and I thought punching this piano might get me kicked out, so I'm not going to do that either. I also joked earlier that when I stopped taking piano lessons as a junior in high school, I'd taken 12 years of lessons, and those entire 12 years, my piano instructors told me that I played too fast, too loud, and used too much sustain pedal. And you will hear all 3 of those things. I'm going to start with Chopin. Chopin was the preeminent piano composer of the era in which this piano was built, actually. And that's perhaps a little bit of a stretch in that he died roughly in the era that this piano was built. But I'm going to start with Chopin's Pollinates in A flat major. This was written in 1842, so about 5 years before this piano was built, and would have been a brand new popular, it would have been pop music in 1847 when this piano was built. It was dedicated to a friend of Chopin's who was a German banker. And the full piece runs about 8.5 minutes, and I can't play it. So I'm not going to do that version of it. This is a shortened reduction that runs quite a bit shorter than that. So that I have a sense of the house. How many piano players in the room? Okay, good. Any music instructors in the room other than Susan? Good. Okay, good. That makes me feel better. Any music critics in the room? Any fans of Monty Python? So this is the tune that Eric Idle uses for the Oliver Cromwell song. If you're familiar with Monty Python's musical selections. Here we go. A little, as I said, pop music of the era in which this piano was built. And this is Chopin's. Again, want to switch gears to something completely different. In the 1840s and 50s, one could certainly not just go to the internet and download music from around the world. It took time for music composed in other parts of the world to make its way to the United States, and usually by way of it being performed somewhere and someone hearing it and enjoying it and deciding that it needed to be performed elsewhere. Oh, by the way, I should note, I'm using music all the way across the board here because I can't even memorize statutes that I have to use every day. So I'm certainly not going to try and... I joked earlier that there are 2 things I remember from memory. One I think I learned when I was 7, and that's... and that I'll never forget. And for some reason or another... So if we're ever doing something with ghosts, Benny, we'll happy to come by and
Smiling.
happy to come by and provide Phantom of the Opera. This is an Eastern European piece called Schnee Nevmerke. It was composed by a gentleman by the name of Mikhailo Verbitsky in 1863, so just a decade or so after the piano was built. It was combined with the words of a poet by the name of Pablo Chubinski, and first performed in 1865 together. It's inspired, the words are, by a Polish poem called Poland Is Not Yet Lost, which was a Polish nationalistic poem of the era. This is fairly simple and completely different, and I'll explain in a moment why I wanted to include it. Tune, it's a pretty tune. It's the Ukrainian national anthem, and it seemed fitting today. Its English lyrics, by the way, also seem fitting at the moment. They are, "Never perished is Ukraine's glory and freedom. Still upon us, young brethren, fate shall smile. Our enemies shall vanish like dew in the sun. We too shall rule in our beloved country. Soul and body shall we lay down for our freedom, and show that we are brethren of the Cossack nation. Dearest brothers, onward, take to battle. Time to rise, time to gain freedom." So those are the English lyrics. Now, let's see if I can do this better than I did it at 2 o'clock. Another thing that would be routinely performed on these pianos would be religious music. Folks would play hymns and other religious selections in services at home or just as part of their regular piano playing. Given the time of year, music related to Easter seemed appropriate, and one of the pieces we see during Lent routinely, that is also of this era, is a piece that was, the lyrics were written in 1851, right about the time this piano was built. The music came about 2 decades later from a British composer by the name of George Elvey. And that is, well, hold on, before I tell you what it is, let me tell you one more thing, which is my purpose in selecting this is I'm going to play a very, very modern arrangement of it, because I wanted to, I brought a bunch of modern stuff the first time I came and sat down at the piano and just kept thinking, nope, no, that doesn't fit. That doesn't work with this. That doesn't work with this. That doesn't work with this. So I finally decided what I needed was a more modern arrangement of an older piece, not just a more modern piece. I'm going to be playing an arrangement of this piece by a Washington State composer by the name of Zach Unke, who does a lot of modern arrangements of religious music. I think he wrote this when he was 18 or 19 and performs and composes out west. The piece, the tune is known as Diet Amata.
That was fantastic. You're in for another treat. For the next performance, I'm delighted to introduce Mary Alice Dillman and Susan Waterbury, and they will be performing for you here in a few minutes. It's thanks to Mary Alice and her late husband Tom that we were able to restore this piano to a playing condition, and we're very pleased that she is able to be one of the first people who actually get to play this thing. So, and as a personal note, Mary Alice is my dear friend and neighbor, and how this all came to be kind of was, Tom and Mary Alice were always interested in my goings-on here at the Historical Society, and we were talking one day, and I was explaining to them how we had a really lovely piano donated to the Historical Society, and how we were going to have to, restore it, and that we were going to be searching for funds. Well, that a couple nights later, I found out that Tom and Mary Alice stepped forward to provide those funds to be able to do that. So we thank you very, very much. So in addition to the treat of having Mary Alice play the piano, we have an extra treat that her daughter, who's a professional musician, and you can see that in the brochure, all of her accolades, and it's wonderful. You're in for a real treat. I'm going to shut up. Well, let's play.
Now, please don't expect me to be the musicality of David. Please. I have just been a mother of 4 children and 4 grandchildren. And I've done just piano, simple pieces on the piano. And we've had music in the house because of Susan. A lot of it was because of Susan. But we love music. And my husband, who died in July, loved music too. And so I'm playing simple pieces. And just what I think I can. It's interesting too. Do you realize this has only 75 keys? And our usual pianos are 88. And so the C is always down this way, and so I have to move again. That's exactly right.
Well, yesterday we came for a little rehearsal, and when we were leaving, Mom was saying, piano is so different than ours at home. And, you know, she was getting a little concerned, but I'm so glad that we're doing this. And even though Mom said something about that I brought the music into the house, no. She and my dad just love music, and obviously all of you love music, and how, you know, music can impact our lives in so many different ways. And so, yeah, I think that's great importance, the arts. I was like a little kid, oh, can I just have some gum and go play outside? So David was talking about the piano, and Benny also, and I don't know if you noticed the tuning, but it's a half step lower than, you know, an A440, which is, you know, the orchestra, the oboist plays an A, and that's A440. They usually have a tuner. In Europe, it's higher, but here, but this is at 415. So that means that the A is to my ear actually a G sharp. Yeah. But play the A. No, I know, but I mean play a B flat. That would be a normal A. So it's a really beautiful. I think the sound is really lovely though, because the strings are a little looser on the piano and on the violin. Yeah. So anyway, the tuning's a little different. Okay, I'm gonna set up my music, and then I'll be ready to play. Oh, so can we start again?